Hello and welcome everyone joining us on this exclusive webinar. I'm Shreya and I will be your host today. The topic of our discussion is Accelerate Time to Market by Enhancing Cross-Team Collaboration in Real Time. But before we kickstart today's discussion, let me walk you through a few hygiene items. On the left-hand panel, there are a range of engagement tools. You can get a quick overview on today's webinar topic from the information widget. You can also download resources related to today's discussion from the resource widget. If you have any questions during the course of the presentation, you can submit them through the chat box, which is situated on the left-hand side of your screen. We will conduct a short Q&A session at the end, where our panelists will answer selected questions coming from the audience. So please keep them coming throughout the course of this webinar. In case we miss out on any of your questions, we will make sure to answer them through email. Let me now quickly introduce today's speakers. We are joined by Nili Segal. She is the Product Engineering Architect at Cadence Design Systems. Nili, can I please request you to speak a few lines about yourself?
Hi, I'm Nili Segal from Cadence. I hold master's degree in computer science from Ben-Gurion University in Israel. I have been working at Cadence for the past 12 years as a product engineer architecture of vManager tool, which is one central tool that provides management and verification solution for our customers.
Thanks, Nili. Next, we are joined by Purvesh Maharaja. He's the Global Sales Manager at OpsHub. Purvesh, would you like to share something with our audience?
Sure, Shreya. And thank you, Nili, for your wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. This is Purvesh Maharaja, working at OpsHub as a Global Sales Manager. I have an engineering degree in electronics and communication and MBA in finance. I'm working with OpsHub for about 5.5 years, with overall 16 years of experience into various domains and industries, working in fields like technology and management and sales, this type of roles. Thank you.
Thank you, Purvesh. Let me now hand it over to you, Nili, to walk us through the strategic partnership between Cadence and OpsHub.
Thank you. So Cadence and OpsHub actually established partnership between the two companies, and the strategic behind it is to enable the verification engineer to have the complete and the current information he needs about requirement in vManager tool, which is the tool that he's usually using for his day-to-day work, and enable the system architect, product owner, and managers to have real-time visibility to the verification status in their tool of choice. The benefit of doing it is to get the optimized requirement coverage on one hand, as well as the functional accuracy with real-time integration on the other hand. It also will improve the productivity, collaboration, and transparency between all the team members, whether if they belong to the verification teams or any other teams. It also increases the effectiveness and the productivity and the velocity by enabling each member of this team to use the tool that best serves his role. So let's look at today's agenda. We are going to talk about the semiconductor industry today and its challenges, or what are the barriers that we have in the industry, especially about speed and innovation. We're going to see how vManager tool enable traceability and collaboration to overcome those barriers. And we'll also talk about connecting requirement in real time to some robust integration solution and see how we can do it with OpsHub. We'll also show you a demo, and we'll have a summary and takeaway and a Q&A at the end. So let's talk about the semiconductor today. We know that the industry is very competitive. We also know that the designs are getting more and more complex and keep scaling all the time. And we know that our customers have needs that are changing rapidly, and we need to be agile in order to accommodate that. So what are the three main areas that we want to be successful in? The first one, talking about speed. We want to be fast. We want to be the first out there in the market. Then we also want to make sure that we have good cost of ownership, which means we release on schedule without compromising our quality. And with that, we want to have the best design so we can capture the correct market segment. Knowing all of that, we know that we also have barrier to be fast, innovation, and with the right quality. The barrier that we are looking at is that if we're working in siloed tools, we obviously reduce our ability to collaborate, we reduce our velocity, and we reduce the quality. Also, if you don't have complete information, it will lead you to take poor decisions. And last, if you're starting to do all the collaboration in a manual way, we know it's a lot of labor intensive. We know that it's error prompt, and we know that this process is much slower, take more time, and also will be very hard to scale later on. So now that we identify all the barrier and the risk, how can we mitigate it? What are the key success factors in our industry? So the first thing that we want to have is knowledge. We want to have all the information. We want to have full traceability. We want to have the complete information across all the teams. So if we have a requirement that need to be that change and need to be validated, we can quickly do that. We always want to have the right priority of all the requirement at any given time. We want to identify the critical dependencies between those requirements. So once we have all the information, we can take action on that to make sure that our requirements are fully covered and that your verification is accurately reflected per those requirements. So let me talk a little bit about how vManager tool, which I'm reminding you, it's the Cadence tool, enable the traceability and the collaboration that you need. So within vManager, we have a vPlan, stand for verification plan, that provide you the ability to actually define your verification goals and connect them directly to the metrics that you collect during your verification process. That provide you the traceability that you need from the verification definition through the implementation and the execution results. So you can actually see them all connected in one place. Also keep in mind that the results that we are collecting are coming from different engines that we have here at Cadence. On the right-hand side, you can see a picture of our Excellium, which is the simulation that Cadence have, or the Jasper, the formal tool, Palladium, our emulation, Proteum for the prototyping. All of those different engines can generate results, can generate metrics that we can collect and reflect back in our vPlan and connect them into the verification definition. vPlan also provide you a way to take specification that comes either from your marketing person or your architecture to reflect the requirement coming from the field, and also annotate those back to the verification definition. In addition to those built-in functionality that we have within our tool, vPlan also provides the infrastructure to embed and connect requirement information that's coming from requirement management tools, like third-party tools, directly to vPlan. So if the requirement management tool define the requirement and manage the requirement relationship, vPlan allow you to trace it and audit it from the requirement management tool all the way to the vPlan into the verification engineer domain with automatic and robust sync between the two tools, the requirement management and the vManager tool. A little bit more on how the vPlan looks like. So in the middle, you can see the vPlan that the user can build by himself using vManager tool. You can see that we have hierarchical structure, so the user can look at the top level or at the high level, as well as drill down to the specific requirement or verification definition that he cares to see. You can see on the right-hand side the different spec that can be annotated back into the different verification definition. We also allow reuse of vPlan if a vPlan was already defined, for example, at the IP level and need to be reused at the SoC level. We, of course, very easily allow that. And on the left-hand side, you could see all the different results coming from the different engines that I mentioned before that can be annotated directly into the vPlan hierarchy structure. And our tool automatically accumulate all these coverage results and aggregate it per the level that it comes with. So in addition to that, which again, it's a built-in in the vManager tool, we also allow to connect and sync with requirement management tool. In order to do that, you want seamless integration with the requirement management tool. And for that, you would like to have good and robust integration ecosystem tool. The things that we are looking from that ecosystem tool is to have a complete and accurate data available at any given time. For all the artifacts, we want to make sure that they are linked correctly and reflect correctly the relationship between them, whether if it's in the high level or the low level granularity. We also want to make sure that we have automatically sync between the tools in real time. So the responsiveness of the engineer can be very, very fast. And as a result, you can get a better team collaboration, better quality, and much faster tape out and be there on market on time. So that's exactly what we were looking for in our partnership. And this is why we partner with OpsHub to accommodate all that. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Parvesh to explain more about the OpsHub solution.
Thanks, Neil, for a great background and points about challenges and ways to overcome those in semiconductor industries. These are great insights, by the way. This is the one industry where market size grows, but the end product becomes complex and smaller. How can one sustain a growth in such environment? Yes, we know the answers. It is speed, quality, and innovation, which is only possible with a seamless collaboration between tools and teams in a federated environment. Hence, the tool or a solution that helps teams collaborate via integration should have rich functionalities. It must be reliable, it must be scalable, and it should have a great functionality. For a reliable integration solution, it must guarantee the data consistency and currency. It should also be able to handle failures and outages. Means the data or the update happens during the failures should also synchronize once it's back up online. It should be able to handle the scale of the industry, the scale of the project, the scale of the products. It should be able to not impact the performance of endpoint while scaling up. Hence, the scalability is needed at the runtime, not manageable with a human intervention. It should have a rich functionality, should have been able to preserve the history, the relationships, the attachments, the comments, and the rich content of the data that it needs to transfer between the tools. With OpsHub Integration Manager, we can support all this. OpsHub Integration Manager, we can support integration of vManager with 50 plus odd tools, which is listed on the screens. In the various categories of requirement management, quality and verification management, ITSM and CRM, application lifecycle management, build and version control tools, project and portfolio management. Each categories of tools can be integrated with vManager for a different purpose and use cases. We'll get more details about individual use cases of integrating vManager with different categories and different tools on our website. Now, today we are going to talk about an integration use case between a requirement management tool, IBM Rational Tools, and a verification tool, vManager. We'll talk about how both the teams can collaborate between each other and able to preserve the traceability between requirements in those versus the verification of vManager. In a typical scenario, how the business process works. Let's say my requirements and product managers works on rational doors. My verification team works on the vManager. Let's say I have already an existing requirements which needs to be verified from the hardware side. So I have a requirement and hierarchy of those requirements. Verification engineer creates sections and subsections subsequently on the vManager accordingly to the requirement available on rational doors. Then they attach a metric port to one of the section or subsection against which they need to run the verification. The metric port will be then created on IBM doors as a verification item. The product or requirement manager working on IBM doors will review the metric port as a verification item on IBM doors, revises the specs if needed, and then approves to go to the verification. Once it's approved, the verification engineer on vManager runs the regression by different means. Once the regression is run, output is available. It will be then added or synced back to the verification item and at the requirement and IBM doors. After looking at the results, the coverage on doors objects, the product or requirement manager will close the requirement. That will also synchronize back to the vManager, which makes it completely closure on both sides. Now, how it looks in details with an elaboration. Let's say I have requirement 1, and then underneath I have 1.1, the sub requirement, and the sub of the sub requirement 1.1.1. When the integration starts, it will automatically create similar items in vManager. It creates section 1 underneath subsection 1.1, underneath subsection 1.1.1. That means it preserves the hierarchy and the relationship of parent, child, child of child. The verification engineer gets visibility upfront about what he or she needs to test again. If there are any changes at the requirement level in doors, it automatically reflects to the vManager almost at the same time, almost in the real time. Now, with those information available at the section or subsection level, the verification engineer creates a metric port, let's say underneath section 1.1.1. Once the metrics port is created, it will automatically sync to IBM doors as a verification item under a different module, preserving the link to the requirement 1.1.1, as verification engineer has created the same metric port linked with the section 1.1.1. Once it's available on IBM doors, and again, it's almost in real time, product manager reviews the verification item, which is linked with the requirement 1.1.1. It will review it. If needed, it will revise the specs if needed, and then approves it to go to the verification. Once it's approved, it automatically reflects it in the vManager. Verification engineer see that it is approved, it goes and runs the regression. Once the regression is done, it triggers the TCL script, which preserves the verification results or coverage into a metric port and roll it up to the subsequent section level. Once it's done, it automatically, almost in the real time, syncs those verification or regression results and coverage output to the IBM doors at verification item and the requirement level. After product manager reviews the regression or the coverage output, it decides to either close the requirement or continue to do more testing. Whatever changes or the updates they make in the doors, it will automatically reflect almost in the real time in the vManager. This is exactly what we are going to see today in our demo. So let's go to the demo. I hope my screen is visible. Right now I'm sharing the doors database. I have a project and some modules in doors. For today's demonstration, I'm going to use verification requirement modules and verification test modules in the doors. The objects under the verification requirements are actually requirements that will sync to the vManager as sections or subsections, and a test case or metric code that will attach in vManager linked with the section or subsection will synchronize back as an object inside verification test modules. In the verification requirement module, I have already predefined requirements. You can see there are some hierarchies of the requirement as well. And the requirements are also have some attributes like priority, status, heading, short text. Verification test module, currently it's blank. Let's go to vManager. vManager is right now blank, empty. There is nothing in this. OpsHub, as it preserves the history, will start with synchronizing the requirements. I'm activating the requirement synchronization. So all the objects from my verification requirement module will be synchronized to vManager as section or subsection, preserving all the attributes and hierarchy. Let's go to vManager. We'll wait for about 30 seconds and then refresh the screen. So now I refresh the screen. Now you can see that 4 subsections have been created. We have health monitoring device. We can see the title, health monitoring device 2.0. We can see the description, status, priorities mapped as severity. You can also see the ID of the dose object in a custom field along with the URL to reach to the dose object as well. We'll see this structure and ordering are also maintained. Health monitoring device under glucose monitoring, and then there is a low blood and high blood sugar range verification requirements. Everywhere we can see those values and description, status, severity. This one is in progress. You can still see the object ID and object link. This one is in progress, severity is low. We have the same hierarchy and ordering in the dose. In dose also, now you'll see this under a field. We have linked the ID of the section from the vManager. In all the object, that value is set. It helps you get kind of better traceability. Now we'll add the test case. Test for low blood sugar notification. We'll add the description. We'll set the test execution status. We'll set the severity. We'll add another test. Test for high blood sugar notification. Again, we'll set the description. Notification test for high blood sugar above 160. We'll set the test execution status. It's at this time in progress. It's severity critical, or maybe let's just set low. Now you see the difference over here. As this is integration and integration works in background, uh, how can a verification engineer or someone looking at the vPlan come to know that these items are created by an actual user on vPlan directly, or the items are synced from uh, the requirement management tool, or have been updated from the requirement management tool? We'll see a flag over here, the red flag, okay, uh, which is only at the section or subsection level. The test case that we have added has not this flag. So the items which doesn't have this flag has the last update made on the vPlan itself. We can clear the flag by clicking on the right click, by doing a right click and doing clear all flags. Now you see the flag is cleared. You don't see a flag over here. That means the value has been read and been accepted by the verification team. Now, as integration is running in the background, by this time, the metric code that we have added over here would have been synchronized to the doors vManager. Let's add the metrics to this test cases as well. Now let's go to doors and see the test cases synced as a verification item. Let me open up the verification test module. I can see the verification tests have synced with an out link to a requirement. We'll see it has linked to the verification requirement module. We'll go inside. We'll see the heading, test for low blood sugar verification, the short text as a description, notification test for low blood sugar value or level less than 70. We'll see the attribute over here. Priority was high, status was new. Let's on this, after looking at people feel that this should be 65. I'm changing the specs. and the status to in progress from here. Then I'll see the ID of the metric pour or test case attached on the vPlan. Same thing over here. High blood sugar notification and notification test for high blood sugar above 160. Let's say this is also changed to 170. And I can see the object text over here. The attributes also, the priority was set low and the status is in progress. Saving this. On the verification requirement module, we'll also see the links. Let's go to vManager. Let us refresh it. Now we'll see the flag is again set, because on this we changed it to 65 from 70, and on this one we changed it to 170 from 160. Plus the low blood sugar notification test was also made in progress. Now at this point, verification engineer does the normal work like go to regression center, run the regression, and after some time when the regression is completed, output is available, coverage output is available in the regression center. From there, it will be synced or integrated to the planning center. Right? Now, we have already put some pre-calculated field for the metric code that we have pre-calculated coverage output for the metric port that we have attached, and we will directly fetch that coverage output like grade average, pass run, fail run details from regression center to the planning center directly via this button grade analysis. Once those values will be available in the planning center, we will fetch it from the vPlan or the database of the vPlan to the attribute level by doing sync button. We are refreshing it. Now you'll see the values are updated over here. There are 2 pass run, 4 failed runs, and average grade is 33.33% for the low blood sugar verification test. For the high blood sugar verification test, notification test, the pass runs are 6, failed runs are 0. Overall average grade is 100%. Now the functionality of OpsHub is via CUDA script. We can roll it up from the test case to the section level or a subsection level. So if I go over here, I will see the same grade analysis output or the coverage output, 6 pass run, 0 fail runs, and 100 overall average grade point. For the low blood sugar range verification section also, you'll have the rolled up coverage analysis available as well. Now at the glucose monitoring module, we'll see the average of both. Okay. So we'll see 4 failed runs, 8 pass run, and average grade is 66.66%, which is again rolled up to the health monitoring device section. Now we'll go back to the dose and see the similar output. First, we'll go to the verification test module. I'll go to the low blood sugar verification test. I'll see the 4 failed runs, 2 passed runs, and average grade is 33%. Based on this, I will decide Okay, for me, this is a failed test case. I'll see the second one. You'll see average is 100%, 0 failed runs, and 6 pass runs. So I'll say that, okay, this is completed test for me. I've updated the status. I'll see the rolled up results at my requirements object level as well. So first we'll start with the high blood sugar range verification. In the attributes, we have 100% coverage, 6 fast runs, and 0 failed runs. Blood sugar range verification. I have 33% average, 4 failed runs, and only 2 pass runs. The average rolled up to the parent requirement is 66.66% average, 4 failed runs, and 8 pass runs. The same is rolled up to the health monitoring device 2.0 as well. 66.66 average, 8 pass runs, and 4 failed runs. Now with this, I'll say that this requirement is closed for me. I'll say that this is completed. We can go to vManager and look for these updates. The requirement update would be syncing in a while. Meanwhile, we can see the updates for the test cases. So the high blood sugar verification notification test is passed. The one for the low is failed. We'll refresh one more and then this data should be automatically synced to completed, closed, similarly mapped status. So we'll see this as a resolved requirement. That's all for the demo today. Over to you, Neil.
Thank you, Pravesh. So today we presented both tools, the vManager tools from Cadence and the OpsHub's integration manager from OpsHubs. We show you how enhanced transparency, collaboration, and traceability can actually lead for a better compliance, improve productivity, and accelerate innovation. And with that, you can be first in market, on time, with the right quality. Thank you all for joining us. And I think now we are ready for the Q&A.
Yes, and thank you, Nili and Purvesh, for sharing your valuable insights with our audience. Let me then dive into the questions which have come for our speakers. The first question is for Nili. Can we connect multiple modules of IBM doors to a single vPlan in vManager?
Yes, it's a good question. It's absolutely possible to integrate multiple models from IBM doors to a single vPlan in vManager.
Thank you, Nili. Purvesh, this one is for you. Is the REST interface used for communication between vManager and OpsHub?
Interesting question. Yes, OpsHub uses REST APIs called vAPI to communicate with vManager. And for most of the other tools, we support APIs as a primary means for the communication.
Thank you, Purvesh. The next question is for Nili. Does the sync button in vManager only appear when the OpsHub interface is active?
Actually, not at all. The sync button in vManager is basically to refresh the data that we already have in the database and reflect it in our GUI. In the webinar with the demo, you saw how in the background OpsHub's using the vAPI to continuously sync with our database. So the database is always updated with the interface with OpsHubs. But if you want to reflect everything that changed on the GUI, you'll push the sync button to also reflect the changes that was provided by OpsHub's tool from, of course, the requirement management tool into our GUI. But it, as well as it's used to sync with the OpsHub's activity, it also used to sync with any other client activities that change the database and you would like to reflect it on your GUI.
Thanks, Nili. This one is for Purvesh. Does the sync tool need to be installed on every vManager client? There's another subpart to this question. Also, is there a hosted deployment option?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The answer is no. It is not required OpsHub to be installed on every vManager client. Okay, OpsHub will be installed on a separate VM. It is not a plugin which needs to be installed on a vManager or any requirement management tool. It needs a machine where it can be deployed, and then it needs to connect to the vManager via service account user. The VM could be on-premise or on cloud. It could be an actual or virtual machine. Customer can decide to host on their on-premises or on their private or public cloud. It just needs a connectivity to the endpoints. Thank you.
Thank you, Purvesh. Before we wind up, we have one last question, and that is, while integration is down, what happens to changes made in end systems? Purvesh, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, sure. And this is interesting, right? We talked about in earlier slides that one of the characteristics of an integration solution or a tool has to be a reliable, right? It should be able to handle outages and failures. Right? So let's say there is a integration down situation. It might be like server is restarted, or maybe it's been upgraded, or there is a network outage situation while people are working on requirement management tool and a vManager. Those updates, they are making constant updates to the items in both the tools, right? What would happen to those? OpsHub will know where exactly it has stopped the sync earlier due to the outage. Once the synchronization is back up, right, OpsHub is able to connect with both sides and now ready to synchronize. It will exactly start from the point it was stopped earlier. So any updates made on either of the side will sync to the other side in the exact same order. I hope that answers the question. And of course, no changes made in tool will be ever lost to synchronize to the other side. Thank you.
Thank you, Purvesh and Nili, for answering our audience questions. And with that, we come to an end on today's webinar, but we will continue to host similar webinars where we will discuss topics which are most relevant to you. If you want to know more about our upcoming events or products and solutions, please log on to opshub.com, or you can even reach out to us on email. Do write to us because we love hearing from you. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Take care and stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.